Golden Black Radio is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. At Academy Sports and Outdoors, we carry all the gear you need from the top brands, all at prices you'll love. And now shopping at the Academy is more convenient than ever. We offer free assembly on in-store purchases of most bikes and grills, plus free and easy curbside pickup on academy.com orders. Want to save even more every day? Open and use an Academy Sports and Outdoors credit card to get 5% off future purchases when you're approved. Save time and money at Academy Sports and Outdoors and have fun out there.
And we are going to have fun out there. And I told these guys I was going to leave them off screen, but while I do the read for acrepro.com, where you are tonight, Wednesday Night Live, our 9 o'clock version. So we're doing more. I don't know if this is more prime time or what, but thank you for taking the time to join us. Tom Dienhart, Dub Jellison, and myself, Alan Karpick here. We'll talk a little Purdue football for the next half hour, 40 minutes or so, but I want to thank our sponsor. And of course, that is acrepro.com. When it comes to being, if you need some help with a purchase of farmland, Kyle Spray and Company are the people that are just the ones that want to help you out. 1031 exchange on down the line. They are your pros, and they are really great guys to deal with as well. Kyle Spray has been with us here now, but this is our third year and our second year of doing Wednesday Night Live. If you get that, they have been great supporters of ours, and we appreciate them very, very much. And guys, I'm going to get started with the talk. Obviously, Southern Illinois, Purdue passed its first test. I think you guys have written about that, talked about that the Boilermakers in a 31-0 win over Ball State looked good in doing that. Dub, I'll start with you. Just in terms of that, now that you heard the coach on Monday, talked to players here the last couple days. In addition, what's the vibe going into week 2 in your view?
I think they're just going straight back to work. None of the guys that we've talked to are taking Southern Illinois lightly. Nor should they, despite them being an FCS opponent. We were talking before we hopped on here, they've beaten FBS teams. They've beaten Big Ten teams and Northwestern just a few years ago. So I think Purdue's got the right mentality, and it's kind of what I expected under Barry Odom. And I think also players are kind of coached to kind of go 1 week at a time, one game at a time, and not quite look ahead. But that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting throughout the first 3 days of Southern Illinois week.
Yeah. Tom, you win one 31-0. It's debatable, I guess, to some extent, how much you learn in a game like that. It may be a little bit that way, but you had a lot of we looked at the participation chart and how many guys got into the game and played significant snaps. That had to be what Barry Odom wanted to see in week 1.
One game at a time, Dub. Barry Odom would be proud of you, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they were. I think we talked after the game. I think I used the term checked a lot of boxes, right? I think they were able to check a lot of boxes coming out of that opener, which I'm sure they were tickled by. And one of those boxes being, like you said, Alan, playing a lot of guys. Defensively, especially on that line. I know they rotated pretty liberally up front, and I think they probably will do that all year, right? You always want to keep your D linemen fresh. We saw some D-backs rotate in as well, and of course, wide receivers. So yeah, here comes Southern Illinois, right? And we had the note of all notes this week that I shared with you, Alan. The last Purdue coach to start his career 2-0. You have to go back to 1916. That's before even you were born, Alan.
Yeah, barely.
Cleo O'Donnell, the immortal Cleo O'Donnell. He's getting more publicity now than he has since 1916, right?
Yeah.
He beat Wabash and DePaul to open the season, open his career 2-0. So here comes Southern Illinois, and Dub talked about kind of a giant killer here. And they have a head coach in his 10th year, Nick Hill. He played quarterback there. And he actually led SIU to win in Indiana when he was the QB. Dub talked about him beating Northwestern in 2022. They beat Northern Illinois in 2023. They led BYU at halftime last year. BYU was almost a playoff team. So my point being, these guys aren't going to be scared. They've got a pretty good quarterback too, DJ Williams. He's a big guy. And last year was just a train wreck for SIU. A lot of injuries. They had to pull a graduate assistant coach off their roster to be quarterback. It got so bad. So yeah, You never want to take anybody lightly, guys, but you know what? I'm not a Purdue coach, so I'm going to take SIU lightly. I think Purdue needs to run these guys out of this place, and so fans can get back the trunks of their car by the fourth quarter.
Well, and a night game in Ross-Ade Stadium, which early time of year, though it's going to be, I guess, maybe a little bit of rain here on Thursday, but it's going to be a nice night, not an extremely warm night, but a perfect night for football, those night football games. And again, Deb, you have to look at this. If you're Purdue as a dress rehearsal, it's still, again, as Tom said, we can't, the coaches can't necessarily do this, but we can. USC awaits next week, and that's the game that 3:30 kick on the 13th of September that everybody's waiting for. And I think it's going to be hard for Purdue to slip up in this one, but you got to get some things accomplished, I think, in week 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And the players, like Tom said, the players and the coaches are not taking Southern Illinois lightly.
Yeah.
They probably they can. I think they can. Just from a pure talent perspective, I think, like Tom said, I think they should walk them on Saturday night. But yeah, I mean, just think about the buzz in West Lafayette with the Boilers 2-0 heading into that Saturday afternoon matinee against USC. It would be a big opportunity, and I think Tom had mentioned this going into the season, potentially an upset with Purdue winning that game. I don't know how he still feels about that right now, but yeah, I think this is just getting Ryan Brown more comfortable, getting Josh Henson more comfortable calling plays, figuring some things out defensively, and just fine tuning everything ahead of what's going to be a brutal schedule, because not only you have USC, you got Notre Dame, you got a bye, and then you got Illinois. So the heavy hitters are coming. So Purdue's just got to take care of business in this one, which I fully expect them to do.
All right, Tom Jones asked Will Brown. This is almost remember Tom a couple of years ago. We used to do Acre Pro buy sell. Are you buying that Brown will play in all 4 quarters? I'll give that to both of you guys. You think that happens?
No. For Purdue's sake, I hope it's no, right? I mean, we got to see them pull Brown last week, and Singleton got some time in the fourth quarter. So ideally, if this game goes as I think Dub and I anticipate, maybe Ryan Brown takes his shoulder pads off by the middle of the third quarter here. So, yeah, like Dub said too, this team still has some questions. It wasn't all roses last week.
Yeah,
it was 31-0. But upon further review, as they say, right, the offensive line, I think, still has some questions to answer. Weren't a lot of what wasn't a real consistent push in the ground game, and I think that was one of the bigger things, one of the bigger takeaways we saw that really need to be, I guess, hemmed up at this point. So there's always stuff to work on, right? But yeah, Ryan Brown, I think it could be a nice light night work for him. Like I said, he gets those pads off, gets to hold the clipboard, and dream of USC by the middle of the third quarter, maybe.
Well, Purdue had 4 of its 5 offensive linemen play over about 57 plays. 3 of them played all 60 last week. You can answer, Dub, the first question about Brown playing in the fourth quarter, but also just the way the offensive line played, which Barry Odom kind of addressed that on Monday, that it was okay, but certainly there's work to be done, and there was a lot of things. I thought he was pretty honest about things that Purdue did not get done well. And that is what's going to be interesting to see, whether they play not only Ryan Brown, but also does that offensive line get cohesive and get together. Seems like they tried to get that done on Saturday against Ball State.
Yeah, and to answer your first question, I don't think he plays all 4 quarters. I think I'll go a step further. I think we might see Bennett Meredith on Saturday. I think 3D. Yeah, I think that could be that lot. The game could be that lopsided. Number 2, though, as far as the offensive line goes, it wasn't encouraging, in my opinion, to see just how much trouble they had with if you want to call Ball State's defensive line average, I think you're being generous. I don't think it's anything special. And Purdue had a lot of struggles at times with them. I don't think Jalen St. John looked all that impressive. And they still had their moment. It wasn't like, they were getting run over on every play, right? which is what you would expect. You know, they're going to have moments against a lesser opponent like Ball State. They're going to need to have a full 60 minutes against Southern Illinois. But, you know, Ryan Brown, he was consistently throwing off of his back foot, having to move around in the pocket, have to scramble. You know, just keeping him in the pocket where he can sit back and carve up defenses is what you want. Obviously, you're going to have some design runs with him, but I don't know if Purdue necessarily wants him running all around the yard, just from a health perspective, keeping him healthy. So, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest question mark for this team right now, and it's something that I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Saturday.
Yeah, Tom, go ahead.
Real quick, the other area was tackling.
Yeah.
Barry talked about that in the post game, and he talked about it again on Monday, the tackling. But I guess that's not a real surprise, given they don't do a lot of full-blown tackling in camp. And I think most teams' tackling is kind of spotty early in the season. But, you know, to Dub's point, too, you're playing a MAC team. You like to think if you're a Big Ten team, you're physically superior and you can kind of impose your will. We really didn't see that from the offensive line. Here comes an FCS school. Goodness gracious, this is the kind of game Purdue should run for 300 yards, 300 or 400 yards, 2 100-yard rushers. I mean, if they don't physically dominate SIU from an offensive line, defensive line standpoint, I guess we'll continue to question the O-line's legitimacy. But again, if you're a Big Ten team, you got to be able to manhandle a Missouri Valley Conference team that was picked to finish, I think, 6th in the Valley this year.
Yeah, what did you guys think of? You know, Purdue did try to push the ball downfield. Certainly some of the data supported that with the depth of target being almost 13 yards, which is pretty high in that situation. Did Ryan Brown pass the test? But did that surprise you, or is this really what you saw a lot in training camp in terms of Purdue's desire to get the ball downfield a little bit in the pass game?
What do you think?
You know,
go ahead, Deb. I'm sorry. I should have addressed you there. Go ahead.
No, you're good. It did surprise me just the sheer amount of times that they dropped back to throw it. I think Tom and I are similar in that we thought that this team was going to try to punch in the mouth with the ground game, lean on Devin Mockabee, lean on the offensive line, which I think both of us also thought was a strong suit for this team. But you know, Josh Henson talked about it on Monday. You know, just the desire to drop back and throw it was kind of predicated on what Ball State was doing defensively. They kind of stacked the box, kind of dared Ryan Brown to beat him, and he did. So, you know, I was thoroughly impressed with Ryan Brown. I thought he played great. You know, he had a few passes here and there that, you know, he missed, but that's going to happen when you're a redshirt sophomore quarterback that has 2 starts under your belt. He's a guy that's still developing, but I think he took a major step in the right direction. Now it's about, can you do it on Saturday, and then can you do it beyond? Is going to be the question for the Purdue offense for the rest of the year.
Tom, I want to ask you about, and I've had some couple questions about this too. Who surprised you the most? I mean, I had to go back and look at some of the numbers from last week about guys that had on the defensive side of the ball. I want to talk about, of course, Powell Manny Powell going to be a staple of this defense. Had 47 snaps in the game. Did what he's going to do, I think, throughout the course of the year. But anybody on the defensive end that really got more playing time than you expected and performed maybe better than you expected?
Yeah, Manny Powell, we talked about Dub and I, number 16, boy. He's the man. He's the bellwether. He's the leader of that defense, and he's got one speed, and he's just relentless. And they got to keep him healthy because I think he's a real catalyst. His sidekick, Charles Correa, a younger guy who has a lot of quickness too, and just loves to hit. As far as surprises go, I don't know. You know, I don't think I was surprised by anybody's snap counts on defense. I think who started, Dub and I weren't really surprised. I guess Hidari Hines starting. He kind of had been in and out the first team all day during camp, and I was a little surprised he got the start. I was glad he did. Good for him. But otherwise, Tony Grimes back there, you know, Miles Slusher, and Darius Coffey. I tell you what, and I tell you the guy I asked about this week, Taj Rael, the kid from Memphis. He's another special player, I think. A kind of a rangy safety who who empties his tank on every snap too. And I know Mike Shear had some good things to say about him in the back end. So, yeah, nothing surprising. The snap counts, like I said, they rotated up front pretty well. And just this looks like they got some solid depth on defense, And bigger tests are coming, right?
Sure.
And I'm really eager to see how this looks against USC, how this looks under the Golden Dome on September 20th. So, but we can't get ahead of ourselves. I know I love to. I love to live in tomorrow sometimes too much.
Yeah.
I'd like to live in yesterday too much. But yeah, again, more shall be revealed. But so far, so good. I guess. Long story short, I'm a little encouraged that maybe Purdue's got some little salty roster here this year.
Yeah, we're going to find out. And I think it is going to be interesting to see, again, that 7:30 kickoff against Southern Illinois. I want to thank again our sponsor, and that, of course, is acrepro.com when it comes to land sales. It pays to have experts in your corner. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists with decades of experience in Indiana agriculture. No one knows the market better. Whether you're doing a 1031 exchange or simply buying and selling farmland, your local Acre Pro agent will walk the land with you and ensure the deal is done right. Kyle Spray, our contact with Acre Pro and a good friend there. You can call him at 765-775-6502 or talk to your talk to your local land experts today. All right. Those guys didn't even have time to have a cup of coffee for that commercial. I do like one of the guys I thought also passed the eyeball test. Obviously, I didn't watch him like you did in fall camp. Crew Wakely. It's a guy I know you've written about Tom, or written about certainly. I like Purdue's depth in the secondary. And again, we'll see what happens when push comes to shove. But I thought that Barry Odom brought some guys through, and I thought that made certainly, again, they passed the eyeball test against maybe an extremely inferior opponent. But Tom, talk about the secondary. You talked about Taj Rael also having and getting the job done. Hadori Hines also had 45 snaps in the game. But there's some options back there, at least some guys. I think Crew Wakely. I know I just went on Medicare this year. I don't think Wakely's quite there yet, but he's getting there. So there appear to be some experienced options in that secondary.
Yeah, probably the most experienced part of the team, honestly. I think there's a note in your notes about that. I think 12 or 13 D-backs were brought in, and a lot of guys have starting experience, and there's quality depth. Me and Dub talked about Crew Wakely on Saturday. Just the fact they have a guy like that in reserve who come off the bench. We saw him make a couple plays in the game on Saturday. You're right. He's 25 years old, Alan. He's married.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of the great stories on the team. It just sort of tells itself, He married, I think, a Utah cheerleader, and he one time he was selling solar panels in California. Went on a Mormon mission. He's a Mormon for 2 years. So again, just and it's funny when he's a good talker. He told us that when he took the visit to Purdue, he had absolutely no inclination to commit. He was just sort of taking the trip to take the trip, just for the fun of it. Lo and behold, he ends up committing.
Yeah.
Just crazy, isn't it? And again, a fun guy to talk to, a fun story. Yeah, number 7. It's going to be kind of neat to watch him. But yeah, that secondary, boy, we talked about it was a train wreck last year, and just a lot more depth this year and quality depth. And I mean, I was a better coach too. You got better Charles Clark there, right?
Dub,
Sorry.
That's all right. That's part of the show.
That dog's
we don't have anything in our noise. And that's all right. What's the dog?
He's fired up.
Well, what's your dog's name? Is it your dog?
No, it's my girlfriend's dog. He's fired up about the Boilermakers.
And what's his name?
Cooper.
Ah, there you go. Good name for a dog. Did you have a dog growing up, Tom?
Yeah, we had a border collie named Daisy.
Ah, we never did. We have cats in my married life. Both of them passed away in 2020, and we're still hard on the Karpick family. But we loved our cats here in West Lafayette. But no, linebackers. I want to get to what you saw from that Dub. Again, that's an area that was not good for Purdue last year. Not that it has anything to do with this year. It's an area that has to be good every year if you're going to be competitive at any higher level. What did you see on Saturday, and what do you hope to see moving forward?
Bigger, faster, stronger. I think that was evident the first day we got out there at fall camp, and got to see those guys move. And you saw it from the first defensive snap. Charles Correa came flying in and took down the Ball State running back, I think, behind the line of scrimmage. And that just kind of goes to show you what Purdue has in the linebacker room right now. Him, Manny Powell, the heart and soul of the defense. And when you have someone like Sanders Ellis, who was in the running for FCS Freshman of the Year last year at Tennessee State, you got Alex Sanford coming off the bench. You're in a really good spot depth-wise and talent-wise. So I think Purdue's got two really, really, really strong options in Powell and Correa, and two guys that they know Mike Shear, they know what he wants, they know his system, and they know each other, most importantly. And I think they're both well respected amongst the entire team, and I think they're going to be big parts of what Purdue wants to do defensively this year.
Yeah, Tom, you wrote about Sanders Ellis coming in. He only got 4 snaps this week. Do you anticipate more? Has he just got to work his way into it? What's your take on him and where he is in the depth chart?
We talked to Mike Shear, I know, during camp. He's a linebackers coach as well as a DC. He was an LB himself at Missouri, a very good linebacker at Missouri.
Yeah.
And I kind of got the impression he was still sort of getting caught up to speed. So
which is not shocking. Yeah.
I think you got to be able to trust people to put them on the field. And I'm guessing that he's still sort of getting familiar with the scheme and whatnot. I think that's probably why his snap count was held down here. I anticipate, ideally, it's going to go up here. He's a heck of a physical specimen, man. Maybe the most impressive physical specimen linebacker they've got. And he's the kind of guy. I know Dub and I never forget, during spring football, I think it was, he came on as a visit. And I didn't think they were going to get this kid. He had like Virginia Tech and some other schools after him. They got him.
Yeah.
I thought it was a real nice pickup in the portal for him. One of many nice pickups in the portal. So, yeah, wait, real quick. Shout out. I got to shout out the punter.
Yeah.
Jack McAllister. And what a day. He had Dub posted on our board, and tweeted it out. He was he got recognized this week by the Ray Guy Award. 3 punts over 50 yards. All 3 punts were inside the 20-yard line. The one punt was a beauty. I mean, it's like a golf shot, bounced and rolled right out of bounds at like the 4-yard line. That doesn't seem real sexy. It's hard to get excited about a punter, but boy, that can really bail you out and change field position for you, and can be a heck of a weapon for a team when their offense is struggling, and you turn the field over and see if the defense can do something.
Yeah, since Jack Ansel, I think he was the first guy to have three punts of over 50 yards. I believe it was. We did that in number crunching, but he was impressive in terms of that. We got a couple comments in here. David writes, "I like the team's discipline after the whistle. Give the ball to the ref. Don't celebrate too much and stay focused." And Barry Odom, and I can't remember now on Monday what he said, but it's something about his team discipline, which I think on the surface looks just fine. But your guys' impression of just how Purdue handles itself. We know that Barry Odom is that type of coach and expects that out of his players. But anything to add to that comment? Doug, go ahead.
I think we talked about it a little bit last week. Seeing how disciplined they would be in the real tests. I mean, and for us, there's only so much you can tell in fall camp. Only having, I think it was 4 or 5 penalties. That speaks to the discipline of this team, and the celebratory thing. We saw Michael Jackson pay homage to the King of Pop. It's pretty tame. I thought we were gonna see a moonwalk. But even that, this team, in that respect, kind of embodies Barry Odom, in my opinion. Kind of his type of personality, just go to work and kind of the Purdue way. in my opinion. So I was impressed with how disciplined they were just from a penalties perspective.
Yeah, David also asked about Jaleel Hall. I know that Barry Odom said Monday no update, or not sure. He knows it's going to be a while, but and he's very cautious on injuries anyway. But it would look like a severe one. Was there any other news to that since? I assume not.
I asked about some guys Monday, and he's going to be out for a while. Hall is.
Yeah.
The key guy is getting Denali more setback, I think.
Yeah.
Sounds like Barry sounded a little optimistic. So I think Dub would agree. I think we both thought Denali was probably going to be a starter.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe he could be the alpha receiver at one point. Maybe he still can be the alpha receiver. He certainly looked good in camp. So get him back out there with Jackson, and we haven't mentioned Branch yet, and we're 40 minutes, 26 minutes into this thing, maybe start of the game. And Chauncey Magwood hasn't played yet either. He's a guy, number 5, that I liked a lot in camp. And my point being that they've got some solid options at receiver. We saw E.J. Horton stepping up. I think they like Jesse Watson, the diminutive receiver from East St. Louis. We saw George Byrne play the tight end. And I think we're going to see more from that room as well moving forward. And, Rico Walker. So, again, there's some nice weapons there for Ryan Brown. Tell you what, like I said, Ryan Brown, he's every bit of 6'4", guys. We stand next to him in practice. I'm about 6 feet tall. I think Dub's about 6 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
I look up to Ryan Brown. I mean, 6 feet, he's a legit 6'4".
Yeah.
A long, rangy guy. So he has some nice weapons, I think, to throw to.
Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting storyline to watch unfold, because it's going to be important, and Malachi Singleton getting in the game again, that was important. We talk about the need, and Barry Odom, I know, has talked about the fact that you're not only is Ryan Brown. Purdue's history is not all that different probably than a lot of other schools where it's hard to go through. We talked about David Blau and Curtis Painter and Joey Elliott being the last quarterbacks to really have a whole season behind center, and yet it is hard to do that. Certainly he looked comfortable out there. I mean, obviously he's late in the game, not having a lot to. They weren't going to do a lot of things with him, but he looked the part again late in the game. No, that I recall any miscues that were evident. But Dell, I'll start with you. Any thoughts on what you see and what you saw? You talked about whether Bennett Meredith might also get some snaps this week, but Singleton seems to be an option that maybe a little bit different look too than Ryan Brown, even though Ryan Brown can run it a little bit. Didn't do a lot of that in game 1. But what do you think, Doug?
Yeah, I thought Ryan Brown was going to run a lot more than he did. Now, I don't know if that's, just the looks that Ball State was throwing at him, or if that's a concerted effort to try to keep him more in the pocket. I know Barry Odom, I think he talked about it after the game. He wasn't pleased with some of the hits that Ryan Brown took. And if you're Purdue, you probably weren't. But, Malachi Singleton, I think he's more of a runner. He's kind of like a bowling ball, just stout. And he can also sling it. I think you saw that last year at times at Arkansas. He helped them win against Tennessee. I think he came in against Ole Miss and played very well. So it's not like Brown goes down and the season's gone. You at least would have a chance with Singleton. I think he's a very intriguing player. I think it would change the dynamics of the offense quite a bit should he go into the game with the first team offense. But a great safety net to have if you're Purdue. Yeah,
and an important one as well. Certainly when it comes to that. Okay, I want to ask you a couple questions to round, and we'll be doing our preview show with Derek Schultz that will air on Friday. Programming notes around the line. It seems like we've got Zooms about every day of the week. Podcast, of course, Saturday simulcast will be after the game Saturday night, so you can stay up. If you think 9 o'clock's late, Though I think our numbers are actually, we've had more people on tonight than we did last week, which is good. But then, of course, our Golden Black Radio on Tuesday. We've been running our Monday Night Memory series with the Rose Bowl reflections. And we'll have Chris Klopp and Jim Chaney this week. Then, of course, the show on Wednesday. And then back, like I said, the preview show Friday, in addition to Golden Black Live, our live stream with WLFI. But going around the wonderful world of college football, you guys watch it closely. Tom, I always get a big kick out of your awards column on Sunday morning because it's how you keep up with all that stuff. But Ohio State was the marquee win. Bill Belichick was maybe the biggest loser of the weekend. I don't know. But, Tom, what was your take of your sense of not only college football, but maybe the Big Ten in week one?
We saw it's not abnormal. Again, the first game of the year.
No question.
Going to look uneven. So, Brian Newber talks about the hot take guys. You want to draw any grand conclusions over what we see. I know teams struggled. Wisconsin struggled. Rutgers struggled. Michigan State didn't look that great. Minnesota had to flounder a little bit against Buffalo. So the bottom line is they took care of business. Everybody but Northwestern.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody was shocked that NU lost down at Tulane. So, again, everybody survived in advance, so to speak. So, again, they have to be pleased with that. You certainly want to be able to teach lessons after a loss, even an ugly loss, than teach a lesson after a close defeat. So, so everybody but Northwestern moved on with the win, and here we are, week 2. And, again, from a big picture standpoint, Alan, you talked about the big game at high noon last week in Columbus. Just a great job by the Buckeyes, right? To win that ball game. To really sit on that Texas offense. And I know their offense has some struggles, only 14 points. They have a new quarterback as well. So this is the time you got to figure things out, right? This is when you want to figure things out. And I was going to point out for Purdue, adversity. I'm really eager to see how Purdue responds when adversity hits, because adversity is going to hit multiple times this year in games. Turnovers, quick scores given up. They're going to trail at halftime, trail going in the fourth quarter. How does Purdue respond when things aren't going smoothly? You can say that about everybody in life. That's how we're defined. We're not defined how we act when things are going well for us. We're defined by how we react when things are going poorly for us. So that's still a big unknown, obviously, after that easy win last week. Probably won't see much adversity this Saturday, but it's coming. And Ohio State dealt with some. They found a way to grind out a close win. And if Purdue wants to shock the nation, at least shock Indiana and the Big Ten nation, right, and maybe get to a bowl game, you're going to have to respond to adversity and maybe win some close games that you're not supposed to win.
Yeah, Dub, anybody surprise you? I mean, Michigan was not. New Mexico gave the Wolverines a tough game on a national scale. I thought LSU finally got Brian Kelly an opening day win in a tough environment, and now he and Dabo are chirping back at each other, though I think they did after the ball game. But anything that surprised you from a national landscape?
Thomas Castellanos was talking a lot, quarterback from Florida State. He was talking a lot going into the season. They went in there and smacked Alabama. That was surprising to me. And the sky has fallen down there in Tuscaloosa now. As things go. But I didn't get a chance to watch the Indiana game. I was surprised by the score. I thought that they would just smoke Old Dominion. Not many other surprises in terms of the Big Ten slate. I did love having 3 top 10 matchups in week 1, though. Clemson, LSU, Miami, Notre Dame, and then Texas and Ohio State. That's what, as fans of college football, that's what we love. That's what we want to see. We don't need to see Oregon and Montana State. No disrespect to Montana State, but I know those games are needed. But I just love seeing more marquee matchups.
You know what, guys? A loss isn't going to kill your playoff chances either.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's all different on that.
Yeah,
no question.
Why not play these games? And of course, Bill Belichick, right? I mean, They saved that one for last on Monday night, and
they were out of Kenan Stadium by the third quarter. I mean, that was
blowing a tire, blowing all 4 tires. So that created quite a buzz and gave everybody a lot to talk about. And how would he respond to that? It's going to be very fascinating too. So it's going to be it's going to be a great story every week, like Dion was. Of course, Dion lost his opener home to Georgia Tech. So they said, let's have Georgia Tech and North Carolina playing a bowl game. Get a heck of a
though they were a lot more competitive than that game against. Georgia Tech. Are you talking about Dion's first game 3 years ago too? I think. No, he won his first game. Yeah, he won at TCU, right? So he did get off to a good start. All right, gentlemen, you get back to your. You can go out clubbing now. It's 9:30. You're in good shape, but I'm going to bed. But no, this is we always enjoy it. We could do this just the three of us and talk football. It's always fun to do that. A privilege to do so. Thank you guys so much for your time, and we look forward to more. We'll have more. Again, if you're a local person, Tom, Dienhart, and myself, we just rip up the WFI airwaves on Thursday and Friday. That's another. We'll be getting ready for that tomorrow. But then, of course, our pregame show. Make sure you listen to that on your way into Ross-Ade Stadium, and don't forget. Figure out your Bluetooth if you haven't yet. You can hear our post-game show. Starts a half hour right after Tim Newton and company get done. We'll be on our Saturday simulcast breaking down that Purdue Southern Illinois game. Brian Newbert will join us off the jump, and then we'll get Tom and Dub after they've been in press conference, get their comments about Purdue Southern Illinois. Guys, have a great rest of your evening. Thanks so much. Thanks to our friends at Acre Pro. And we appreciate them very much. And we also want a programming reminder, like I said, that we'll be back for our pregame show on most of these same channels, so to speak, for Friday. So a reminder, too, the Acre Pro, that phone number to call them, 765-775-6502. Talk to your local land agent, Kyle Spray and Company. Again, that number, 765-775-6502. Acre Pro Midwest Farm Group are your local farmland specialists. Have a great rest of your Wednesday night. If you missed part of this, we'll have you can always go back and watch it. We'll also have a podcast version up on Simplecast as well, on Apple Podcasts, so you can listen to the whole shooting match. So have a great rest of your Wednesday evening, and take care all.